into Titan Esports. We got top of the table matchup tonight here between Akuma Spikers and True Minded Gaming. I'm joined by Anti, and we got Darth Lasers observing and freelance producing. Hopefully, we get a nice competitive series. This matchup will determine a lot as far as playoffs go here in the second to last week of the season.
Oh, absolutely, Typhoon. I mean, when it comes to Akuma Spikers and TMG Flash, these two teams have been absolutely incredible throughout the entirety of the season. Akuma Spikers going down last week was actually a little bit of an upset coming in from Zaffa and Pals. It was very, very close. Game two was like the 50-minute long game. Like, it was disgusting how much time and effort that these two teams put in, and I'm sure that Akuma Spikers are feeling bad about what that ended up leaving them. So, as we get into this one, don't forget that TMG Flash also lost last week. So both of these teams trying to make their comeback, trying to make their bounce back. And I've said it time and time again, teams only really show their mettle after they've lost. How do you bounce back from these defeats? That is what really shows the strength of a good team. So now we get to see whether or not these teams have what it takes to do well when they're doing well and when they're doing poorly. And what better way to do it than a contention for first place match?
Yeah, certainly. And I think in that department, Akuma Spikers might be a little bit more up to the task because they did take a loss earlier in the season and have since bounced back, went on a pretty decent 3-game win streak. So after that, so that would definitely potentially be a point in their favor. So because this is untreaded waters here for Flash, so we'll see how that kind of impacts them as they go through the series. Also, you mentioned the 50-minute game, and games like that just build character. They just build some type of resilience that these players will start to get as we get into those later series, and definitely once we get to the best of fives, those long night games. So we'll see how it affects them tonight. But like you said, contention for first place, we've got a heavily contested matchup for it, so it'll be hopefully an exciting series to watch. I'm not quite sure when we're getting into draft just yet, but it's gonna be it's gonna be it's gonna be a good series. Is there any lane specifically that you have your eye on going into the matchup?
If I'm going to be completely honest, right? So, whether it was last week or this week, I'm always surprised by what these teams do end up bringing out. So, I'm personally, I'm excited to see whether or not these teams have been picking anything up from pro play or if they're going to go more for their comfort picks, right? I mean, if you've seen MSI, if you haven't seen MSI, sorry about some spoilers here and there, but we saw some crazy picks. We saw things like Swain top, the Mundo into the Aatrox, or just so much Mel bot lane. Oh my goodness, so much Mel
Yeah.
bot lane. I was calling it for such a long time where the Mel players were all just like, "Ooh, this champion's so bad, she can't do anything." And I was just sitting there and was like, "I have no idea what you're talking about. This champion's disgusting." Um, like mage bot lane has been the name of the game at the highest level of play. We haven't really been seeing that as much over here. We actually have been seeing quite a bit of the mage bot lanes from Akuma Spikers, if I remember correctly. But we are going to have to see whether or not these teams are going to go with their comforts or what you see the top teams across the world pick up.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to keep an eye on with those mage bot lanes because they also enable some of these other random support picks that have been coming out between the Camille and the Shen. Um, we've also seen Jax in solo queue specifically. A lot of the pro players over there at MSI were practicing it in
Oh yeah.
support. So it definitely opens up a lot of options there as well. So that'll be
Not a fan of
interesting.
that
But
champion. I'm gonna be
no,
real with you. I am not a fan of Jax, whether it's in support or top lane. I've always got a little bit of a problem with that Grandmaster at Arms. Either way, here we are into the draft. We are not seeing the bans come out just yet, but there we go. Hui going to be banned up, as I mentioned, right? Akuma Spikers, they are very happy to bring out some of these mage bot lanes. So Hui, one of those picks that you don't really want to be dealing with, especially because works well in the bot lane, works well in the mid lane. Maybe blind pickable, I'm not too sure about that, but when you have a flex, it makes those blind picks so much more terrifying.
Yeah, most definitely, and it makes it very very hard to predict where you're going to go, especially when you're on that blue side. But
Hmm.
further down the draft, we're seeing some lock ban, of course. You know, new champion, always going to probably be
Oh
put on
boy.
that ban list. You know how it goes nowadays. But a couple more 200 years champs coming through with the bans with the Mbessa, the Zahen, and then we're gonna see Silas and Wukong. So a lot of looks like solo lane and jungle focus
Hmm.
potentially in the bans in general, and it's gonna be that B1
Victor
Victor.
blind. Okay. So blind Victor is definitely a ballsy choice. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can pick that could make Victor's life a living hell if you have the right setup for it. So Bard isn't exactly something you pick into Victor itself, but you also have to remember Victor, one of those champions that has traditionally been flexible into the bot lane before. So we're expecting this to be in the mid lane. We have seen Victor in top lane. We have seen Victor in bot lane across the years. So you have to make sure that you have your wherewithal, right? But Bard, Jarvan, two very, very strong picks here. You already saw the Victor. Now, if that Victor's not going to get flex, you steal away the Orianna. That Victor is almost certainly not going anywhere other than mid lane. So the Ezreal already taken up to deny Bard a safe pick to be with. And Xin Zhao going to be the pick into the Jarvan. I'm not too sure if I agree with it necessarily. I think that if you're Akuma Spikers here, you absolutely take the Orianna. Just make sure that that Jarvan Orianna combo is super, super strong. Instead, it's going to be the Cassiopeia. So Rise all of a sudden becomes so much higher value in the later stages of this series.
Yeah, this is a really interesting look here from Akuma in his first three picks. They took the Bard away, of course, great pick. It's been very versatile. We've seen it all year. And then, of course, Jarvan to punish that Victor, the immobile control mage. But I actually quite like the Xinjiao pickup here. It gives a lot of space creation for these long range carries of the Victor, of the Ezreal, to just get their damage out from a distance safely. So it is going to be the
Mm-hmm.
Karma and the Rumble banned out from Akuma here in the second phase, and the Darius and Ziggs across the way. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
of course, we can see that Cassio go into bot lane. It's that one's a little bit more of a answer to some of the mage bot lanes, so I'm not expecting it,
Oh,
and that'll solve that question.
I mean, but will it though? Because you could still put the Casio in top lane, you could still put the Tristana into mid. There's just a lot of
True.
different ways that you could
Yeah.
move this around. I think we're gonna get it as boring as you can possibly get it. But there we
Yeah.
go. There's one of the things that I was about to say was a bit of a concern of mine, where you're saying Xin Zhao, very, very good at creating space, right? Creating ways that the backliners could actually get off their damage safely. But needs a little bit of a buddy, so you need a little bit of a front line. So you got that Nautilus, you got that Gnar, and you got the Nasus. Okay, we're picking Nasus into Gnar as the round 5 pick here. I don't know if I agree with this one.
Yeah, this is a bit interesting. We've been seeing it more in jungle and solo queue, so it's kind of an interesting counter pick in top. And
Give me
when
the
you look
J4 top.
across, it's like, yeah,
Give
the
me the
J4
J4
top.
top. Give me the
That would be
Nasus jungle.
something. That would be something.
Okay, if you want the most stupid possible comp, this would be AP Jarvan support, Cassiopeia 80 carry, Trist mid, Bard top, Nasus jungle. That is absolutely not what we're going to be getting, but it would be funny.
Yeah, so it seems like we just kind of got a bit of a similar draft from both sides. You kind of got your two carries in your two carry roles with a bunch of support in front line to kind of facilitate that.
Okay,
Bit
we're
of
going boring
weak
with
side
it.
top laners for both sides, and strong duo carry comps. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops because I think they're both going to be wanting to heavily play around those 5v5 fights. So we might get some explosive early game objective control around the dragon, and it'll ultimately come down to just who executes better, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the execution is definitely going to be a big, big deal here. My biggest concern for the side of TMG Flash is the tower taking isn't really all there, right? Victor does fine in terms of the wave clear. Ezreal's always going to be a pretty solid pick here. It's going to be okay, right? But Akuma Spikers, on the other hand, They've got Tristana. It doesn't really matter if you're down 5,000 gold. You're probably going to win out in terms of the overall. Oh my god, two Tristanas. Sorry. There we go. So it
Yeah,
is that Tristana mid that I was talking about earlier. I was being a little bit facetious with it, but it does make sense, right? One of those champions that does very, very well into the Victor and can actually punish him.
yeah, certainly. I think it is definitely a trade-off though, because Ezreal Nautilus will likely have a lot of early kill threat onto this Cassiopeia, and Bard isn't, the worst at peeling or creating space or whatnot, but before that ultimate comes online, at that level 6, it does get pretty scarce, or scary, excuse me, to kind of face off against this Ezreal Nautilus. We've seen really impressive Ezreal damage even early in the game.
Oh, yeah.
And Cassiopeia does not get that tanky until that Rod of Ages is online. So that is definitely a place that both of these junglers, I think, will be heavily prioritizing early in this game.
I mean, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I would kind of hate for this Cassiopeia to be picking up a Rod of Ages. I would much prefer that she go with something a little bit more accelerated, like, for example, a tier into a Rylai's Rush. Because the biggest thing about this Cassiopeia is as long as you can get to level 6, and by get to level 6, I mean as long as your Bard can get to level 6 without you dying, your Jarvan comes down bot lane, your Bard gets a Tempered Fate onto the Ezreal, right? You have the Miasma, Jarvan gets the Cataclysm, Ezreal can't leave. Like, it's a wonderful little scenario that the Cassio actually does enjoy. I will say, I'm a little bit disappointed that it was a Bard pick. I would have much rather have taken something like Cassio Seraphine, which is, if you haven't taken up something like Cassio Seraphine, you do yourself a favor. It is disgusting. It is absolutely incredible. There are so many things that you can pair with Seraphine to make that champion disgusting, and everyone picks Ashe. And don't get me wrong, that is okay, but that champion is so much more versatile than just being paired with that Frost Queen. Either way, as we get into the thick of things, do remember it is a fearless draft. So after game number 1, none of these champions are going to be available yet again. So it's just going to be a matter of denial rather than purely picking what you think is a strong comp.
Yeah, 100%. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops through the series too. I think certain roles feel it more especially than others. I think there's plenty of AD bruisers to go around in the jungle. There's plenty of weak side tops and frontliners. But when we typically see that AD carry pool and sometimes that mid pool get a little pinched when we get later in the drafts. And Cassiopeia is taking away another potential mid, so there is in theory 3 mid laners in this draft that will not be available following game 1. So it'll be interesting to see teams adapt to this. It's Fearless has been around for over a year at this point, and it's still very, very far from solved. So,
oh, 100%, and I love that about Fearless, right? I mean, it's also not just a matter of whether or not it's solved. It's going to be changing depending on what the team enjoys and what the enemy team enjoys. It's a matter of trying to get rid of, do you just screw one player in particular because you don't think that they have a strong enough champion pool, or do you say, yeah, I trust them to have a decent enough champion pool, let's just get rid of all the OPs on the patch, etc, right? I remember there was this one time where one of the LCP teams actually picked 5 top laners in game 1 and banned away 3 top laners just to deny one particular player and force him onto tanks. They won that game too, which was just the insult to injury. But either way, getting things like that because of Fearless Draft is so much fun, and I'm so glad that we have it, not just in pro play, but here in Titan.
Yeah, it gives that extra level of spice that I feel like we were starting to lack. There's so many champions in the game ever since the whole adding the extra second phase of bans. It just gives that level of spice. You get to see some of these really fun champs, like you mentioned, the Swain top lane and stuff like that. And
I love Swain top. Okay, so speaking as a top lane player, I have played, so much Irelia, and I am loving all of these range tops because it means a free win. But I am so tired of all these range tops. Like, just give me a melee v melee matchup. And I don't know if Gnar versus Nasus is what I'm talking about. Like, that still feels range to me.
At least you sometimes get that melee form on the Gnar, so it makes it at
Mm-hmm.
least a little bit better. But as we get into game here, Chief
Oh my
is
god.
proxying the top wave a little bit here.
Chief messed up. Chief is proxying this top wave, trying to make sure that there's no way that the minions are going to go anywhere except under tower. But Chief missed one of those minions, so it's going to be a little bit harder to actually force this all the way in. And all of a sudden, this bot lane is
Oh, dude,
looking rough to say the
the,
least.
the exhaust gonna come out. That's just gonna be a kill. I mean, this is definitely an interesting angle here. They kind of just left the Cassio on the weak side, like we saw back in the lane swap meta, where your top laner would be potentially left out to dry. But Cassiopeia lacks a lot of the tools that some of the champions that were picked back then were able to utilize. So just gonna give over first blood to the Ezreal, and Adu just trying to walk up here.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, Otto just walks up, tries to get that Q in, and it just sure you get the minions, but like that's your entire health bar for 3 minions. Are you really, really sure that you want that? You didn't even get all three, right? And in the meantime, Chief and Otto are sitting down here. They're still suffering. There is no teleport on this Cassiopeia, so there's essentially no combat summoner there. In the meantime, Lien has that teleport still available on the Ezreal. It's just looking rough all over. And this was all from Chief going for a really cheeky early play, but
we're gonna have an
in
invade
the
here.
end, Akuma Spikers are struggling
Yeah,
all over the map.
going at the flash here, not important. Walks in with Bento, but here comes the flash out from the Nautilus to get out. Now another one from not important, and Fluke jumps right in, and Otto is on the flank, and now we got a 4v3. They might have bit off more they can chew here for the side of Flash, and that's going to be a kill over to Fluke, one to Itaconic, and Lean going to have to flash away. The Ignite going to give the double kill over to Fluke on this mid lane Tristana, and a bit of an overreach here early from TMG Flash.
And it was looking so good for TMG Flash for such a long time, right? They got that early kill, they got the early prio, they got the engage into the jungle, but no, it is going to be Fluke walking into the jungle first. Fluke, the first to be able to rotate, and an extra person means so much in the early games when nobody's gotten a chance to buy yet. And Tristana getting a double kill means that Fluke gets back to lane 3 minutes in with a fully completed serrated Dirk. If I'm Pumpkin, I am tilting off the face of the planet here, right? It is incredibly terrifying to have to deal with a serrated Dirk Tristana when the only sin that you committed was not being able to rotate.
Yeah, I mean, and this was this was pressure from Pumpkin too to push that wave in. Does go up about a wave of minions in exchange for that, but I'm sure Fluke is definitely not carrying. Fireflames has to burn the ghost here to get away from the Meganar. So positive trade there on the summoner spells. But as I was saying, that you're more than happy to burn a wave of minions in exchange for 3 takedowns at 4 minutes, pre 4 minutes into the game.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to see whether or not they can actually take this lead and turn it into much more. I mean, Pumpkin's getting some pretty good trades off onto Fluke, is what I'd say. If
Fluke gonna get
Fluke
ganked
didn't
here.
get,
Not important. Nope. Not gonna be
yeah, I
nothing.
mean,
Just the rocket jump. Oh,
whoa,
the
whoa,
flash
whoa,
from Pumpkin
Pumpkin!
under turret. Whoa, super aggressive, and Fluke gonna match the flash, and that's just the solo kill over to Fluke. Bit of an oopsie there from Pumpkin. Might have felt pressured from the earlier play going wrong in his enemy jungle.
So Typhoon, remember how I said that if I were Pumpkin here, I'd probably be tilting?
That was
If Pumpkin
proof in the
hadn't
pudding.
been tilted before, I think Pumpkin might be mentally done after that one. Like, you can see the ghost immediately going to get pulled out by Pumpkin, flashes in, tries to get the Q, barely doesn't have the mana for it, and Fluke going to be able to survive 2 tower shots too strong for the victor. But Bento goes
Iconic
in.
here. We're going to get a 3v3 here on the bot side, but it's not going to matter. Bento is just dead already, and that's going to force Flash to have to back out of this fight. Really good timer there for Iconic on this bot side. Comes right in as Bento throws the hook.
Yeah, and one extra thing to note between these two bot lanes is both Ezreal and Cassiopeia are champions that are very happy to be picking up an early tier. So Yen on that Ezreal has that tier available. Meanwhile, Ado also has a tier available. Neither of these two actually have combat stats between the two of them just yet. But Bento, on the other hand, had a bit of extra health, didn't really get to make use of it because that miasma means that you can't use that dredge line. You can't get on out of there. It's just so difficult for either of these bot laners to get away from the Cassiopeia if that flag and drag is in the right spot.
Yeah, we're now starting to see both teams are re-clearing here, and we might see some fireworks here around this bot side river with that dragon up here. It's going to be a Chemtech to start, so dragon stacking definitely gains a little value every time you see that dragon in those first two, as that soul, typically tends to be a little bit less prized amongst teams. But I think ultimately this is just super in favor of Akuma Spikers at this dragon fight if it
Oh,
does
yeah.
partake. But now here we go. We got a Cataclysm onto Pumpkin. No flash from the earlier play. Itaconic has to flash out to avoid the turret, but Bento was here, but it doesn't matter then. The Itaconic was here to match. Bento now getting run down is going to have to flash away, and that's ultimately going to be a 1-for-0. A very good punish on the flashless Victor.
Yeah, no flash on the Victor, but a helping box going to be spelling doom for that mage. I mean, TMG Flash have a relatively standard composition. Meanwhile, Akuma Spiker's always willing to bring out something a little bit more interesting. This is exactly what I was talking about earlier, Typhoon, where I'm excited to see whether these teams are going to be going for comfort or going for more of what we're seeing in the pro play. And I think Akuma Spikers have somehow managed to do both, right? They're going with the mage bot lane, but they're still going for things that they clearly have an understanding of what they want to do to play.
Important. Going to be looking for a gank here. Bento still holding the dredge line. Will not connect. Chief going to just magical journey their way out. And so it's going to be a net nothing play here in the bot lane.
And that nothing play, but one thing to also note is that Chief managed to walk on out of that. No boots on this Bard, right? A very slow Bard, but still able to avoid any of these skill shots coming in from both the Ezreal and the Nautilus.
Getting a bit of a slower moment here. That does cost a little bit of time to not important, and that might open up a window here for Akuma Spikers to kind of make a play around this dragon. And it's going to be really hard to contest for TMG Flash now. They're sitting almost 2,000 gold down already here. And ultimately, the timers are just a little bit rough now for them, but it's going to be
Ooh.
Itaconic sticking around the spot side here.
Yeah, I mean, that True Barrage did do a decent amount of damage. You gotta be really careful here if you are
Here it
Akuma
goes.
Spikers.
A beautiful dredge line interruption here from Itaconic, and now the Cataclysm going to lock down the Nautilus, and that's going to be another kill over into this Jarvan.
Yeah, and once again, the miasma meaning that Nautilus can't do a single thing. Even if Nautilus went for the crazy Hex Flash play, it just wasn't a possibility. And there's just no way out of this Cataclysm the moment that Itaconic hits that R button. Now, we're seeing it work out and pay off so much in this laning phase,
Ooh.
but is it going to pay off once you get out of the laning phase? There's a lot of damage coming in from Akuma Spikers, whether it be bot lane, top lane, or mid lane. But the team fights is where this game is going to be decided.
Yeah, 100%. And Lean does get forced to flash there in the bot lane. But a trade of ults here in the mid lane. So cooldown's getting burned left and right. The Petrifying Gaze also burned in that bot lane exchange, but ultimately that's going to favor Akuma Spikers because they still have access to both flashes on their bot duo. And across the way, there's literally no summoners available here except the exhaust for Bento. And that's not exactly what you were hoping for when you're playing into something like a Cassiopeia Bard, where the scaling is borderline unmatched by almost any champion in the game.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're playing something like Smolder, like Senna Seraphine, like good luck
Here comes the
outscaling that, but good
engage.
luck outscaling
Rocket
this.
jump over wall here. Is it going to be enough? Pumpkin does have the bomb ticking. It's going to fall to 100 HP. Pumpkin going to walk it out. Does have to burn the ghost to survive, but a bit of an ambitious play. Fluke being under 50% HP at the start of it.
Yeah, I mean, Fluke was happy to oblige for the play. It's one of those moments where you walk in a lane, you say, "Hey, I'm going for a gank here," and your laner follows up saying, "Hey, I would love to follow up on that play. I'm going straight on in," and then both of you realize, "Oh, you're really low." Very little that you can actually do to fully follow up. No ult available, but Pumpkin almost does go down. Fluke does not go down. The fully finished uh, holy moly, I can't even remember these ability
Phantom.
names. But either way, we're still going to see these two teams duke it out bit by bit. Collector for this Tristana going to be doing a lot of damage into Pumpkin. I'm not too fond of Collector a lot of the time on Trist because I think that there's just so much more you can get with Hex Optics. But another
A
gank in the mid lane.
beautiful flag and drag flash into the Cataclysm. It's really hard to get out of that one. Pumpkin going to fall. Fluke does take that extra turret shot. Will be forced to recall off of it most likely. Just beautiful targeting here around that mid jungle. Itaconic really making sure that this Victor stays down.
Yeah, I mean, stays down's definitely one way to put it. This just feels like, they know Pumpkin is easily susceptible to these ganks, and they're just going for it again and again and again. And okay, I said that Hex Optics really good for Chisana. Now, well, one thing that Collector definitely has over Hex Optics is it means that every single one of these kills, it gives you a little bit more gold. So technically speaking, a lot more gold efficient to be stacking those Collector kills. But in the end, we're going to see whether or not Fluke can actually turn these onto kills onto more than just this Victor, onto more than just the laning phase. Now, this Tristana does do a lot in the team fights if you can separate everything out properly. But if you don't have the attack speed, if you don't have the ability to actually play the proper front to backs, it's going to be very difficult for Fluke to actually get past this front line.
Yeah, certainly. And we've seen it in the past, even at the pro level, just with these 80 carry mids, players not really understanding how to pilot them the same way that they do these mages. And we'll have to keep an eye on if Fluke can make that happen. But now we got a 2v3 coming out in the bot lane. And it's ultimately just going to be a flash trade here for the most part. That's kind of good here from the side of TMG Flash, though, because
Oh
now
my
you're
god.
looking at this Cassiopeia who is sitting flashless and hasn't stacked up yet to get to this point where it's going to be rough.
Yeah, I mean, might be a little bit rough, but Ada at the very least does have mana. Meanwhile, Yen doesn't have any of that on this Ezreal, so has to back. Doesn't have the TP available either. I gotta say, Viflans is doing a lot of damage into Rainy. Rainy, please, for the love of all things good and holy, pick up a Ninja Tabby. Nope, it's gonna be the Triforce fully completed. But in the end, able to teleport right back to lane. Not going to be missing out on much. Not going to be canceling that Nasus recall. I spoke a little bit too soon. Sorry, Fireflans fans. You are going to be getting a little bit cursed by the caster here. But there's one bonk and one walk away for the dog.
Randy doing a good job getting those hyper procs, but now we might get a fight here in the mid lane. Not important, gonna flash follow Fluke, but here comes Itaconic. It is gonna be the shutdown over to not important, but now the Cataclysm from Itaconic onto the flashless Victor is not gonna be enough as they lack the damage, and two shutdowns go into the pocket of not important on the Xinjiao, and that's kind of the play that they really needed to get themselves back in a chance to contest these objectives.
Yeah, and the least aptly named jungler strikes once again. Not important, gonna be going on in. Already took that buster shot and understands it doesn't matter what happens. I'm gonna flash in, I'm gonna get this shutdown, and I'm gonna get all of this gold. And the moment Itaconic goes in, that Sunder the Sky pays off dividends for not important. Just look at that healing and just the survivability on this Shinzao, and with more than 1,000 gold pumped into that man's pocket, I can only imagine how much more terrifying this Shinzao is going to be across the map.
Yeah, and it's ultimately you burn everything on that mid play too as not important. So to get a double kill, both being shutdowns at that
Oh,
is a big
Pumpkin.
payout. But now Pumpkin might get caught out here at Iconic revisiting this mid lane play. No flash on the Victor, but not important here to reinforce his mid laner, and nothing gonna come of it.
Yeah, but in the end, it is going to be Rainy taking out that
What?
first tower, but
In
Fireflan
exchange
gets
for
the
his
kill
life.
for it. I mean, Rainy says, I'm getting this first tower. I don't care if you kill me. This tower is mine. And honestly, if you can take that first tower and you set up the weights properly, you can make Nasus a little bit homeless, right? A little bit tough for the dog in that top lane. But in the meantime, bot lane looking very, very rough.
Yeah, heavy trading coming out from our marksman players here in the bot lane. But Inaconic has returned again. The Flash Cataclysm into the one shot. Fluke does have to rocket jump away from that Magnet Storm, but they're just bullying this mid lane here. Pumpkin not able to ever leave his turret, it feels like.
Okay, like, is this personal? Like, did Pumpkin say something about Fluke and Idaconic's
Oh,
like parents or something like that? Like,
Fireflames.
this is tough.
Fireflames is lacking mana. This is going to be the potential full rundown. Rainy just lands all the boomerangs, gets tons of hyper procs, and gets the solo kill back on the top lane to even out that kill score in top lane. It's pretty cinematic, honestly. It's the most top lane game of all time.
Yeah, I mean, both of these top laners are going to be dying to take the enemy tower, but it's going to be both of these top laners finishing up that Triforce plus a boot, plus some component of a next item. I mean, to be fair, no longer does the refillable potion actually build into anything. Rest in peace, corrupting pot, my beloved. But
Indeed.
we are going to see whether or not these two titans are just going to stay in that top lane and continue to just duke it out, or if they're actually going to show up to a team fight.
Yeah, so we won't see them around a team fight most likely for another 2 minutes here. That's when the next dragon will spawn. It's going to be an Infernal Soul on the Rift, a very high value soul for both of these teams, especially when you look at both sides. Both have quite a bit of front loaded damage here between the Tristana and Jarvan for Akuma Spikers, but even across the way, this Victor and Ezreal certainly have a lot of burst damage available if they land their poke and their cooldown. So definitely a highly contested solo as we sit at the Dragons 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, Infernal Soul does so much for both of these teams. It means that you can just build more tanky if you have the Infernal Soul available, and you're still not going to be lacking out on a lot of that damage. In the meantime, Fluke getting ganked once again, but no matter how many times Fluke's been ganked, it really can't compare to the amount of ganks that Pumpkin has had to sit through. I mean, that's a 0-4 Victor. Fluke has been playing very well, but Pumpkin knows that it is Itaconic who's been really deciding a lot of these kills.
This mid tier 1 turret is falling really low. Pumpkin might have to be careful here as we get a bit of a split map situation. That mid turret is probably one auto from this Tristana away from falling down, and Pumpkin does have that flashback up, so the Victor not going to be sitting as vulnerable, but now looks like we're going to get a contest into the enemy jungle here for Akuma Spikers. They are just forced out from the rotation, so ultimately nothing to really write home about, but 40 seconds until this Infernal Drag spawns. The Baron soon to follow. Pumpkin chunks Fluke out pretty good. Does force the Buster Shot out in exchange for the Magnet Storm, and now Fluke has to get a reset in here if they still want to contest this Dragon, and it has to be now with only 30 seconds left to spawn.
Yeah, I mean, Buster Shot and Magistorm going to be burned up directly before this Infernal Dragon. And we've been talking about how important this Infernal Dragon is. Chief right now trying to hold on to this mid lane for just a little bit. The Bard not going to be seen anywhere near that dragon in terms of the setup. But right now, a big amount of damage coming in from the inn.
Yeah, Otto gonna get chunked out here a bit. Does have the TP to get back, but is clicking forward into this Ezreal with that TP coming in. Here comes Fireflans. The
Oh,
big dog has arrived. Otto is gonna get traded back though. Lean makes a beautiful aggressive play for to make it a 1-for-1 It's going to be a plus 12 over to Fire Flans, but now we got to engage on mid lane. And Iconic a bit caught out, does use the Cataclysm to try to make some space for Fluke, but has not scaled up yet, and it's 2v3, so it's going to be a 1-for-1 in the bot lane, but another extra over to TMG Flash here in the mid lane, and that should secure them priority around this dragon with the jungler dead.
Yeah, I mean, Not Important and Itaconic are both just doing when it comes to the builds, but in the end, it's not going to be working out for the Jarvan. That Cataclysm just doesn't pay off nearly enough. Beautiful Tempered Fate.
Yeah, they're going to contest it. They want to fight them off this dragon. They don't have the smite to boast, but now a double TP going to come in from the side of TMG Flash, so they have to make their play now, and they have to get out. Bento going to miss the dredge line, and Chief going to pick up the first kill. The exhaust going to come down on the flange.
Look at Otto.
And now we got a straight 5v5. Otto does TP back in. Rainy about to go into the Mega, takes the magical journey, but gets stunned up before they can use the Gnarl, and will hit one. Otto going to die on the bot side to Pumpkin, and now the fight is going awry here for TMG Flash. Itaconic finally arrives, but it's going to be too late. Fluke going to die, and in exchange, Pumpkin. So both mids fall, and now they've turned it on their heads, and they bit off more than they could chew. And now Not Important going to go on a killing spree, but it's all for naught. The dog is huge, and Fireflans will pick up a double. Itaconic going to finish off Not Important. And such an extended fight with all these TPs coming in, but ultimately, Akuma Spiker is going to come out on top.
Akuma Spikers do come out on top of the fight, but they don't have the dragon stacking on their side here. Let's take a look at this one more time, right? That Tempered Fate slowed up the fight so much, allowed Fireflans to just walk straight into the middle, but the focus is split. There was hits onto Bento, hits onto Not Important. It's just hits onto whoever the Nasus can hit from the get-go. And there's a lot of damage that Pumpkin is able to output, but this Victor is slowly running out of this mana bit by bit. Rainy gets on through. Otto takes so much damage, just barely pulls off the Petrifying Gaze right at the end. But Pumpkin only has 2 more abilities left, does not have the mana to do much more. Walks forward, gets slammed by the Cataclysm, slammed by the Siphoning Strike, and Lean has nowhere to go. Fireflans just stacked up on this dog. Double kill. Almost gets the triple, but it goes over to Itaconic after that extra Cataclysm. This Nasus is humongous in these fights. We've talked about how Nasus is considered a late game champion over and over and over again throughout the years of League of Legends history. But nobody talks about how disgusting mid-game Nasus is. Mid-game Nasus is God. Late-game Nasus might have 1,000 stacks, but good luck to see whether or not he can actually get to you. Fireflans right now in his element has the Wing Moonplate for a little bit of extra move speed. On top of it, the fully finished Frozen Heart means that this man is not only going to be able to slow down tons of auto attacks, but has the cooldown reduction and the mana for every single one of these siphoning strikes.
Yeah, and we saw the gold be pulled up there previously, and it's a 1,500 plus gold lead for both solo laners to the side of Akuma Spikers, and really kind of felt it in that bottom fight there. As we can see, 1,000 gold in inventory still for Fireflans, as well as the Tristana here, Fluke, and even Otto just now going to spend. It's basically a tale of topside versus bot side here as the game progresses. We're seeing a lot of gold on Lean being, probably, what's that, 2,000 gold nearly up individually, but it's not going to matter if Fireflames becomes unkillable to this Ezreal. That is one of the few flaws in the mid game that we are starting to see from TMG Flash is they really don't have an answer to how tanky this Nasus is becoming.
Oh yeah, I mean, and you can see
Bento.
right now,
They'll get
Bento
caught
just
out here.
struggling.
Yeah, they're gonna give it to over to Otto, but here comes the TP on the bot side. Not Important is in the thick of it. Doesn't have anywhere to go. Trying to make space with the Crescent Guard isn't gonna be enough to survive. And Chief of all people is going to pick up a second kill here on the Bard.
Yeah, I mean, the thing to note as well, right, is that Otto might have a little bit less gold than Lean does on this Cassiopeia, but Otto has enough gold to finish up some extremely important items. That Seraph's Embrace, that Rod of Ages, that's,
Baron
Rylai's
start.
Crystal Scepter, and this Baron now going to be taken down by the
This
side
could
of
get
Akuma
risky.
Spikers.
Rainy about to go mega here. The beautiful, beautiful ultimate from the Bard, but it's not going to actually work in their favor. Rainy going to get a good ultimate, but here comes the fight. Iconic Cataclysm onto the Flashless Victor, and it's going to be a double kill over to Fireflames. The chase going to continue. In the meantime, Iconic going to turn back towards this Baron with Otto. Bento is eventually going to get taken down by Fireflames, and this Nasus is untouchable. All in the meantime, during this chase, Akuma is just taking the Baron two-man with Itaconic and Otto, and that's kind of the joys of having a Cassiopeia on your team.
Right? I mean, Otto manages to survive just a bit and then ends up turning directly back onto the Baron. And not only do they get the Baron, they get the empowered recalls that allow them to reset just in time for this Infernal Dragon. So let's take a look at this fight one more time. So Baron's already down to half. Itaconic decides to leave the pit. Rainy gets stunned up by that Tempered Fate, does manage to gnar out, get that Gnar towards the wall, but not going to be able to do much as Fluke managed to get off just enough damage to just disrupt Lean. And once again, the Temper Fate coming on through.
Not important, going to get caught out. Bento gets borderline one shot here on the front end of this fight, and Bento going to fall. And now Akuma Spikers can just push down this mid turret with the man advantage and the Baron advantage. And it's really hard to engage onto them when you're lacking your Nautilus. The best case you get is the Mega Gnar and maybe the Xinjiao, but very little AoE engage here available as this siege continues. And I don't know if they can really hold up here onto this mid turret, but Akuma Spikers are going to rotate into this bot side and try to open up the map a little bit more, splitting it up with a 4-1 here. But we're seeing not important hover down towards Fireflames. They might look for a play here onto the Nasus. He is chunked out to half, but just going to wither and walk away the casual Nasus gameplay.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I do have to note here, Typhoon, is Fireflands is level 18, right? That is a Nasus with fully stacked abilities. And if there's anything to know about Nasus, is that a level 18 Nasus is one of the most terrifying versions of the dog to ever run into, because that means that both Spirit Flame and Wither are fully maxed out. That is a huge amount of armor reduction, and that, I don't care what you call that thing, that is a stun on his W, and it lasts forever. Look at this
Pumpkin.
right now. Fireflance doesn't have any magic resist. Doesn't care. Just walking straight up under the tower, puts the Wither down onto Pumpkin whenever he feels like it, takes the tower. This is into a Victor who's been farmed up, who has a decent amount of gold, and still not able to threaten the 0 magic resist Nasus.
Yeah, I mean, it's become a very, very big thorn in the side of TMG Flash. And now we're seeing the 1-3-1 commence. And it's only really possible due to how strong this Nasus is, on top of how safe this Tristana can be with the Buster Shot and the Rocket Jump. So a lot of map pressure coming out, but not important. Going to dash forward onto Chief. The Miasma is just too useful against some of these champions. It creates so much space to allow Chief to just Magical Journey right on out.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why I love Cassiopeia bot. There's just so many things that Miasma can do for the team. You don't even really need that in the mid lane. Giving her an extra slot for her items is also pretty dang good if you do like the new rework Cassiopeia. You know what I mean, right? When Cassiopeia couldn't buy boots. Well, this time we just move them over to a different slot, and all of a sudden she gets the ability to have 6 items once again. So much damage on this champion. Level 16 moving into the mid game. So not quite going to be able to match the level 19 Nasus, but look at this Tempered Fate.
Here comes out the fight of Miasma going to really make it tough to get out of that Cataclysm. And Pumpkin is just one shot, not important, soon to follow. Does have the GA, will go into a stasis, but the fight keeps going past him. Bento next to fall, and now not important, is caught between a rock and a hard place. Otto gonna pick up that one, and now it is 2v5. Can Lean and Rainy defend this base for the next 30 seconds while their support and their mid laner are down? First inhibitor going to fall, and it looks like they're trying to end it here. Akuma Spikers going to walk in. Itakonic going to go forward onto Rainy. Chunked out super low. Doesn't get any value before falling, and Itakonic going to go into the GA, but it's all not going to matter. Lean going to pick up the ace for the side of Akuma Spikers, and that's likely going to spell it here for the game. Waiting for the wave. Bento is up. Pumpkin is up, but there's just too much across the map here for the side of Akuma Spikers. They're going to pick up their free extra kills here onto Bento and try. They won't get Pumpkin, but that's going to do it. They're actually not hitting the Nexus, but we know the outcome. We know the outcome. That's game one over to Akuma Spikers. It ultimately, it just seemed like a topside masterclass from Spikers.
Oh, yes. I mean, we knew the outcome as the Nexus was going down, but that early game, we did not really know the outcome because, I mean, we did see Bard go for a very, very cheeky play, like try to drag the wave all the way into tower, so that way it was a guarantee that the Nasus would have the wave bounce back towards him, right? And Fireflan's very, very happy, right, with Chief going out of his way in order to do that for him, but we weren't able to see whether or not the wave actually bounced properly, and then Chief was late to the bot lane, and then all of a sudden we started getting the Cassiopeia dying really early on. It looked disastrous until one early push into the jungle happened, and all of a sudden it was lights out for the side of TMG Flash because Fluke got so much damage off, so much gold pumped into his inventory early on. But game number one was a banger coming in from Akuma Spikers with a less than standard team composition. I would love to see what game number two has in store for us, so don't go anywhere because it's coming up right next.
Welcome back here for the series we've got going on here between Akuma Spikers and TMG Flash Titan Ascent League. It is one up Akuma Spikers after kind of a pretty close banger here in game one. It was really close until it wasn't in that early game, and we saw some spice with the Nasus top with the Cassiopeia bot, and I'm hoping we get to see the same thing here in game two.
Yeah, I mean, I love to see some of these mage bot lanes come out, but don't get me wrong. As someone who's also played a ton of AD carry, Mage bot lane is difficult to play into. It is not the most fun inducing for the health of the game, but like, I mean, like, what can you do sometimes, right? The big thing about it is I love these mage bot lanes that aren't just cookie cutter. I want these mage bot lanes to be things that people are picking because they realize the strength that it has, they realize what it gives to the team, they realize what it can actually do, and not just because some random pro player said, hey, this is really good, you need to pick this up. Anyway, it's Camille first pick, right?
Yeah.
It's probably going into support. We're going to be pairing it with someone else who can just do a bunch of damage, probably going to be Ziggs, so you have to be really, really careful about Ziggs existing. But you already know how it is. Gragas going to be picked up. I think is a wonderful support counter pick into that Camille if you do put it towards that bot side, because you get the explosive cast to take people out of that Hextech ultimatum and the Lux. So Gragas Lux is the pick here. Lux is a terrible pick into Camille, but Gragas is a great pick into Camille. I'm so lost.
We're kind of seeing a little bit of sporadic options, I think, from both sides. Really, I mean, Cho'Gath, it does provide you a little extra front line. It is it's a bit more versatile than most champions in early phase, but it is still very interesting to see because this, of course, still could be the Gragas top, which will scale alongside quite nicely, but it just massive front lines from both sides already.
Typhoon, you can call me a psychopath, but I think this might be Cho'Gath 80 carry.
I mean, it definitely wouldn't be the first time we've ever seen it, but it definitely would be the first time we've seen it in this iteration, assuming that Camille goes support. Typically, we've seen it with the Senna support in the past as an option once that TK does drop into the bans. But it's a non-zero chance. It's also a non-zero chance to go mid. So it's like a triple flex. Maybe even four-way
I totally
if you
do
could support Cho'Gath.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think we're going to be getting a jungle Cho'Gath. Like, Nocturne's the only one that feels relatively set in stone. Technically, you can put that Nocturne into that top lane, but in the meantime, that is probably a top lane Aatrox, probably a jungle Mundo, which means that would be the support Gragas. So I don't really know exactly where it is everyone's going to be going. That is a Darius that's almost certainly going to be top lane. Is this actually going to be that Cho'Gath 80 carry?
No.
Okay, whatever.
It's the Cho'Gath
all right.
mid.
It is Cho'Gath mid, which I am a little bit more happy to see. But, like, it would have been so much fun. What in the fresh hell are we seeing from TMG Flash? That is Kayn as the R5 pick here. So I'm guessing that's gonna be something stupid like Lux Gragas bot lane. And then it's going to be the Aatrox top, Aatrox mid, Mundo top, and the Kayn jungle. I don't know. We'll see what this does turn into.
Yeah, we'll get our answer in a minute. But...
Like, all I gotta say, somehow, Akuma Spikers have the more boring team composition with a Cho'Gath mid. Like,
Camille support. Like, what is going on? What has Riot done to us? What has MSI done to us?
Everyone is cooking, and I love to see teams cooking, but I think it's burnt.
Yeah, I don't know. The main thing that is starting to really stick out for me here is TMG Flash do kind of lack a way to kill this Cho'Gath come late game. But
it's Cho'Gath 80 carry! Oh my god!
Why? If I could only imagine, this bot lane matchup is going to be Dr. Mundo and Gragas versus Cho'Gath Camille. There is literally 6 top laners picked in this draft. I can't.
Typhoon? You can't say I didn't call it. You can't say I didn't call it. It is the Cho'Gath 80 carry for Akuma Spikers. Cho'Gath is actually disgustingly good as a pickup with that Camille, because Camille has that hook shot, does very, very well into a lot of different champions. Hextech Ultimatum means that they can't really dodge out on the silence, on the rupture, on the follow-up damage. There's just so much to do with it. But TMG Flash somehow have psychopathically created the best possible counter to this, maybe, because a Mundo 80 carry. Okay, I knew it wasn't gonna be.
I'm
Mundo
just gonna
80
wait till
carry.
we
Thank
get a
God.
game at this
Like
point.
I called it
only.
was gonna be Lux Gragas, but like, yeah, we're not going that crazy with it. Okay, they swapped it last second, but Mundo 80 carry would have been very funny into a Camille Cho'Gath, because it does mean that, you know, Mundo with that passive is going to be able to not have to deal with the hookshot as much. Meanwhile, Gragas with the body slam is going to be able to make sure that hookshot doesn't really get to be used. Like, it would have been such a hard counter. But I'm not sure about how much the Lux would actually be. Wait a second, that's a Kane mid.
Okay, so something to note here. We have 8 melee champions on the Rift going into this game, and typically when we see this many melee champions, we get extremely scrappy and get a ton of close fights that are very, very like wild and very just sporadic. But it also means that a lot of the opportunity to snowball goes up, because a lot of these melee champions, especially in this draft, you know, with the Aatrox, with the Mundo, with the Darius, they're all very stat check reliant. So when they get those early advantages, they will be able to snowball them a little bit harder than some other champions potentially. So that's definitely something to be on the lookout for, is these early game skirmishes that could potentially tilt the game in someone's favor one way or the other.
Now, one thing I will note here, Typhoon. So, Hextech Ultimatum has, you know, so much power in this game. A lot of it does get negated by that explosive cast. Now, explosive cast from this Gragas, very, very strong. It is a lot harder to hit explosive cast when the lights are turned off from the Nocturne Paranoia. It is much harder to land an explosive cast when you're silenced with that Cho'Gath Feral Scream. I mean, there's just so many ways to deny this Gragas support pick. Usually, you'd look at a team like this and say, oh, Gragas into Camille is going to completely invalidate her. Somehow, they managed to find more ways to make this Camille pick even stronger. A lot of the strength of this composition relies in allowing Chief to make TMG Flash's life a living hell. So whether or not Akuma can make that happen is a big deal. Pumpkin on that Kane mid, I will say, Kane mid, very, very interesting pick. Not something that I'm used to seeing, but there is literally one person that Pumpkin can get the blue orbs from. So if we're not getting a Rast, this is going to be a very lane-centered Kane with very few roams.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely an interesting lane to keep an eye on. Both of these champions, between the Kai'Sa, between the Kane, have the ability to really get out on the map. Ooh, excuse me. Have the ability to really get out on the map. And I think Kane especially is going to does likely want to go into that red build, wants to go that drain tank against this melee heavy comp. That being said, Kai'Sa likely going to be happy to kind of just sit in mid lane and scale up. Will be probably the most ideal option for Akuma to take down some of these tankier members, with the Mundo especially, with that plasma proc. That being said, we saw Fireflames get an absolute massive gold lead in game 1 on the Nasus, and Darius is definitely no stranger to tanking down some of these big tanks. But we are going to load into the Rift here for game number 2. I have no idea what to expect. These comps are just so out there. They're so... I don't know. It's a fiesta, and that's what I'm here for, and I love it.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of
Oh,
fiesta.
we got a
Oh
three-man
my
in bot.
god, it's a lot of a
Pumpkin just starts
fiesta.
in the bot lane, and Chief going to burn the flash already. Does get exhausted. Bento gonna flash ignite. One more auto will do it. Lean's gonna pick up the first kill on the Lux in the bot lane, and now that's 2 games in a row we've seen creativity from these teams in general. We saw last game with the Bard, Chief proxying that first wave to give an ideal lane state to the Nasus, and now Pumpkin just starts lane in bot lane to pick up a free kill here at level 1.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Pumpkin taking a lot of damage here, though. Just walking up, trying to get a few of these early orbs. In the meantime, Otto, very, very happy to go toe-to-toe with Bento and Lean. Still just going to be able to heal up off of this passive. Even more damage coming on to that Camille again and again. But Chief, still no stranger to the amount of damage that this Camille can pop out. Level 2 coming very, very soon for Otto here on this Cho'Gath. But Pumpkin, I will also note, has that Conqueror available on the Kane. So that does mean that it's likely going to be a Rast look. So we're going to be getting a lot of roaming coming through between these two.
Iconic gonna look here. Otto gonna take over to 2. Does land the knockup onto Bento. Chief going to land the hookshot onto Bento as well, but the Hail of Blades is not enough. Lean just picks up one back. Bento is ignited down to below 100 HP. Now here comes Iconic, a beautiful body slam, but the flash auto for Iconic is gonna pick up one. Lean walking back with 1 HP. Gonna try to throw out another spell here to get that wave in, but it's gonna be the double kill over to Iconic, and the ever unexpected level 3 gank from the Nocturne pays dividends here in the first 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah, one thing that I do gotta say, right? 2 kills over to the side of Lean. Definitely going to be feeling good for this Lux, especially into a double melee lane. 2 kills over to your Nocturne jungle pre-6 is terrifying, right? Because look at this one more time. So Iconic comes on through, manages to spell shield the E from Lean, but not going to be perturbed by the body slam. Still going to be able to land yet another one of those Qs, gets that last auto. No assist over to Otto, but still going to be able to get that experience on over. Once this Cho'Gath hits level 6, once this Camille hits level 6, this lane goes from pretty dang rough to pretty dang playable, and a lot of early experience
Rainy
over. Oh my goodness.
just dies. Wow. So the Ignite, Darius
Oh,
picks
Lord.
up the 1v1, the solo kill. No flashes burned either on that top side. This Nocturne's going to be feeling really good here, actually, as you were mentioning, getting the 2 kills, and now you have a winning top matchup in what's a volatile matchup on that top side. You definitely want your Darius to snowball, but now Pumpkin trying to utilize that Kane, tries to get some information here on the top side. Not going to find anything out here. Going to spot the blue buff is down, but not quite going to run into Iconic on this Nocturne.
Yeah, I mean, Iconic able to pick up so much of that early experience here. Level 4 right now, almost certainly going to be hitting level 6 before Not Importance Mundo, because even despite that early level 3 gank that did end up meaning quite a lot, it didn't result in much gold being taken away here. In the meantime, Rainy and Not Important going to harass Fireflans a little bit in this top lane, but I will say the Storm Raiders Surge Darius is bound to be a little bit difficult to actually, lock down.
Yeah, and now is already sitting on that serrated dirt, going to make that matchup even harder for Rainy. But now the hook shot is gonna miss, and Chief does overshoot it. It might not matter though. Lean gonna be taken out to 200 HP. Iconic is here yet again. Bento gonna pick up the kill on the Chief in the 2v3, and it's actually gonna be a huge trade up for TMG Flash here on the bottom side.
Yeah, and I mean, Lean got very, very low once again. If Iconic had managed to land one of those auto attacks, it would have been very, very rough pickings for the side of TMG Flash. But in the meantime, Otto is struggling, trying to make the most use of this passive to survive for as long as possible. There's not going to be a level 6 available for Lean just yet, so no Master Spark just yet. But in the end, We are going to have to see whether or not Fluke is able to make the most out of this Kaisa in the mid lane, because it's been very, very quiet as far as that one's concerned. Pumpkin looking for a gank in the top side.
Yeah, Pumpkin trying to get out on the map, as we mentioned earlier in the draft with this Kane, but now might be caught between a rock and a hard place. Itaconic and Fluke both hovering around this top Scuttle Crab. Pumpkin
Ooh,
going to
that should be
try to
6.
play it safe here. Rainy is trying to bait in the fight, and here comes the World Ender. Fireflans is not going to be able to turn it around. Rainy going to pick up the kill into top lane, and now it's just a 4v4 on the top side. Well, now 4v3 with that death of Fireflans, but ultimately, I think this is mostly just kind of all a bluff here, as nothing's really getting done on this top side.
Yeah, nothing really getting done on the top side. The grubbies aren't on the table just yet, but level 6 now going to be picked up for Idaconic, and this is where we're going to start to see some of these champions go absolutely crazy with their synergy, right? I mean, bot lane is the place to look. No level 6 available for Chief just yet, but the feast for Otto is big.
Bento is probably
Idaconic.
not feeling too bad here. Chief going a little deep, does have to flash, gets exhausted, and Pumpkin here on the roam is likely going to pick up the kill. It's a 3-level advantage between mid and support. Typical of your early game when your roaming support is like this. Chief is buying a really large amount of time for Fluke to kind of build up that CS advantage, but ultimately it
Uh,
is going to be the kill. Does try to sneak through there. Not going to do it, but now a 20 CS lead is building up for Fluke in this mid lane with that freeze that he was holding the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, Fluke at the very least going to be able to pick up a huge amount of a CS lead despite losing out on that kill. But Chief, on the other hand, I mean, Camille might have the scissor legs, but not skinny enough to walk between those two towers without taking a single shot. Fireflan's very, very happy in this top side, going to just be able to walk on out after breaking that freeze from Rainy. And in
We
the
got a
end,
flanker up
it's
mid.
just going to be
Bento
Fluke in some trouble.
does have to killer instinct defensively, but not going to be too upset about that one. Is trying to just likely scale up and become that late game DPS, and does manage to save both summoners, which will be definitely very vital to surviving against this high threat with the final spark that could come over the top, as well as a high roaming support.
Yeah, I mean, the roaming on Chiefs Camille has been so, so good, but uh, you need level 6 on this Camille, right? That's half the reason why you picked up that Camille support. And the combo is so terrifying when you can actually get it. But Otto's already level 7. Chief is still sitting at that level 5 Fireflans, looking to make something happen here.
That's gonna be the world ender from Rainy trying to get the solo kill, but here comes Pumpkin to put it away, and that's just gonna be an easy dive here for the side of TMG Flash. But now they might be in trouble on this bot side. They are not gonna commit to the fight here on the chase, but it's gonna be another one over to Pumpkin. 2-0-2 here on this Kane mid. Notably is down 30 CS as well as at least a plate. So ultimately, I can't imagine this is really becoming too worthwhile here for Pumpkin to be making these roams that are not necessarily on the timers that you'd like them to be on.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to see Fluke wait a little bit to be able to finish that static shift. But now with static shift fully completed, Pumpkin's going to be hurting on these roams more and more and more. This Kaisa already has such a large CS lead, not even going to be missing that siege there, right? Like, just able to punish this Kane, not through matching the roams, but through making these roams extremely costly. So now it's a matter of whether or not Akuma can actually survive against some of these Kane roams rather than whether or not you can, match the roams and fight for each fight.
Yeah, and notably in the mid jungle, it is an item advantage over to the side of Akuma Spikers. So they do have that static shift on the Kaisa. They have the experimental hexplay on the Nocturne, and that's kind of what's allowing them to take these grubs uncontested here with no cross map available. But now in the extended play, TMG Flash might have an angle to get into this dragon pit as
the resets come through from the bot lane of Akuma, but ultimately, if you're Akuma Spikers, you're probably not too upset with how this game state is looking right now. Your Nocturne is really up on tempo. You were able to kind of secure an objective for free, and the gold is relatively even. I mean, less than 1,000 gold lead for TMG Flash, but here comes the paranoia onto the
Whoa.
top side. Rainy gonna burn the world ender. Is it gonna be enough? And that's actually gonna be surviving still. Rainy is going to trade it out. Iconic Falls. It's going to eventually be 1-for-1. Fireflans has the hemorrhage stacks to pull it off. The guillotine didn't do nearly as much damage as he might have thought. And now, not important, going to flash forward does throw out that briefcase. Flans is not going to sustain through it, but that easy, the lethal dosage popped from not important just to secure the kill. But now Chief might be in trouble here. We got fighting all over. The Hextech Ultimatum to dodge away from that final spark. Is it going to be enough? The Ignite taking no. Pumpkin is going to pick up the first cat. The explosive cask on the auto is huge to pull out that second kill. And now Pumpkin sitting a comfortable 4-0-2 on yet another beautiful roam. And the TMG Flash across the map winning out.
Yeah, I was telling you, Typhoon, this is looking very, very good for the side of Akuma Spikers if they can stay alive through these Pumpkin roams. But Pumpkin, this time around, able to do so much with the roams, up 300 gold despite being down more than 40 CS. Like, it is so rough. If you are Fluke here, at the very least, you are going to be able to get that Evo on your Q, but you're not going to be able to match this Kane in these fights anytime soon. Not until you can get to the second phase, but here comes another paranoia.
Trying to punish Pumpkin, and it's just going to be a straight up kill. Fluke going to pick up that shutdown. That's the exact place you want to send that gold into. And now we're back to deadlocked on the gold chart.
Yeah, I mean, only a 500 gold difference now. And it's bound to be particularly difficult for that bot side, especially when you got 5 deaths on your support here. But in the end, we are seeing the paranoias start to do some work there, right? That's 2 kills on Iconic, but 2 assists after we got those early kills from the get-go. In the meantime, Not Important has just been getting to a point where this Mundo is something where you have to worry a little bit. But in the meantime, Kane is nowhere to be found. Pumpkin already getting into that bot lane with the Rost fully completed, and these these boots, going to be fully stacked up. I gotta say, right? I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the Omnivamp boots existing, but I know that there's a lot of people who are a huge fan of being able to pick them up because they are so unbelievably strong in the right hands.
Yeah, they definitely are an interesting addition to the game. We've seen it on a variety of champions to different levels of success, and if there's any champion that's going to use them effectively, it's going to be a Rost leveled Kane in against 4 melees at that. So definitely the smart purchase pickup here for Pumpkin on that boots pickup, but we haven't really seen Fluke nor Not Important really get too involved here early, whereas the rest of the map has kind of exploded with fights. But it is gonna be interesting to see as they're both kind of the scaling side of things for both teams. They're kind of the insurance policies available, but we are going to see the first dragon pickup here really late into the game, realistically, almost 15 minutes, and it's going to go to TMG Flash here. It's going to be a Hextech on the first ones. So we should
100%.
see. Luckily for both teams, Ocean is not going to be the soul because that would be really gross for either side. But that does leave Cloud, and Cloud is also really good in melee heavy comps. But here comes the killer instinct on the bot lane, and Pumpkin is going to just get caught out. The Omnivamp is insane, but it's not going to be enough. Meanwhile, on the top side, Fireflame just 1-for-1s with Rainy, and now we've got a jungler duel going on in the top lane. Not Important might be on the wrong side of it, though, as Iconic is just free firing away on to Not Important, and that's going to be a 2-for-1 on the top side. Itaconic able to pick up that extra one, but now a hook shot into mid.
Where's your Gragas?
The ultimatum is going to follow the flash. Auto from Auto to pick up the kill. It's actually going to go into Chief's pocket, but it just constant fighting across the rift.
Yeah, I mean, let's take a look at this one more time. Starts it all off with that 1v2 from Fireflans. Gets that fully stacked up passive, and there goes the Noxian Guillotine. Quite a bit of true damage coming on through. Fireflans are going to be able to take down Rainy. Not important picking up the pieces, though. But Itaconic does not care. Runs straight through the tower, takes another shot, gets hit by all those tower shots. But Lien, where's your Gragas? You think you can survive here? No, Chief is already going across the wall, has the Ignite available, has the Hextech ultimatum, and there's that Cho'Gath Camille that we were talking about, Typhoon. That's exactly why you take up this combo. The Gragas has been so instrumental at denying this Camille, but deny Chief 5 times, he will rise once again. Chief on the board with 1 kill, but still no kills to Auto, but a very powerful Cho'Gath nonetheless.
Yeah, and I think that was really actually kind of an explosive moment there in the game. We now see a 3K gold lead over to the side of Akuma Spikers. And as we were talking about in the draft, this game can just blow wide open with how melee heavy these comps are. You typically see a lot harder snowballing in those comps, but now the Paranoia, they're looking to punish top again, and it's going to be the World Ender to try to get it out, but it just does not matter. Itaconic picks up another one on this top side. The heal cut is coming through from Fireflans and Itaconic, plus the Ignite over the top. Like, you are just never surviving this. Rainy does have to burn the flash as well.
Man, like, I'm sure that they know, right? I mean, this is in Masters, right? This is like 500 LP cap, right? These players very, very good at the game. I'm sure they know that the Grievous Wounds doesn't stack, but I feel like they just hope in their heart of hearts that there's some kind of like Riot Spaghetti code where it does stack, because they just really don't want Rainy to exist. They really don't want Pumpkin to exist. They look at not important and it's like, I don't like maximum dosage. I think that this thing is messed up and evil.
Ooh.
And look at this fight in the bot lane.
Pumpkin gets a little bit too aggressive there. Thought he had more damage for Fluke with that final spark over the top, but it's not going to be enough, and
Typhoon,
kind of just a freebie.
Auto still has ult. I thought that was Cho'Gath damage coming on through, but no, that's all from Fluke. Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, this Kai'Sa, 2 items now. Fluke farming it up really well, approaching the 11 a minute mark here. It's going to be really hard to deal with this Kai'Sa, because between the mobility and the sheer burst and front-loaded DPS that a Kai'Sa can provide, on top of having, Ginsu's Rage Blade is one of the best DPS items of the game. So, but besides all that point, of course, we're going to get another Paranoia up to that top lane, and Rainy yet again is the target of it.
So, game number 1, it felt like Pumpkin had said something personal. Game number 2, I feel like Rainy said something personal in all chat, because it started off with some focus in the bot lane. It started off with Itaconic just trying to get to that level 6. And it has ended up with 5 deaths for the Aatrox, pretty much all of them involving Itaconic in some way, shape, or form.
Otto just gonna kill Bento with the Devour, and the Halo Blades will take down Pumpkin. This is just a straight up banger fiesta. I mean, we're fighting over blue buff and 2 fall, and now Akuma Spikers are going to take control of this bottom river with the dragon spawning, and that's going to split it 1-1 here at 20 minutes, but Spikers are still sitting on a 7,000 gold lead at 20 minutes here due to their earlier investment into building a gold lead on this top side.
Yeah, I mean, building a Goldie on the top side is one way to do it. But, I mean, take a look at this mid lane, right? So much gold onto Fluke, but most of this gold is stuff that's very difficult to actually deny because it is a TS lead. Meantime, Fireflans needs to speed his way out of here.
Yeah, he's going to try to run it out. Does sidestep the Lux binding, but it's not going to be enough by the looks of it. The heal going to come through, but the shutdown going over to Rainy with that World Ender. They invest 4 onto the top side. So you know what that means? That means Fluke is just going to continue to pick up these PvE gold injections bot tier 2, but now we got to fight here. The paranoia gonna be pop. Pumpkin is going to get on out of there, but now Itaconic and Otto have to be the ones on the run, but Fluke might have waited a little bit too long here. Here comes a chase. Pumpkin on this cane is really hard to get away from.
Oh, that's
Fluke
big.
will use the killer instinct, and a beautiful one from that Void Seeker to allow the plasma stack to get on out.
Yeah, that Void Seeker was actually insanely high value coming in from Fluke. I mean, just so good. They're going to be able to find a way out to safety. Doesn't even have to burn the flash. Just uses that killer instinct and just ease his way through to the horizon. And there's nobody who can catch the Kaisa then. And in the meantime, it was a kill that had 4 people committed in that top side towards Fireflans. And Fireflans walks towards that tower once again. Chief seems to be the one taking the brunt of this focus, but the Baron is just staring them down here. And I know you said that Ocean Soul would have been terrifying for these teams, but I venture to say that Chemtech is just as evil.
Oh, certainly. Once you get especially when you're looking at an Aatrox and a Mundo and a Kane and a Cho'Gath and a Darius, all these champions, they just love to fight on low HP where you're really utilizing that stat injection as well. It's just this is just a perfect, beautiful cinematic game, and now the chase down onto Flans, a cask gonna pin him up against the wall, but the paranoia in response comes out. Chief is here as well with the hook shot. It's a 3v4, but Akuma are happy to take it. The Hextech ultimatum onto Rainy. That's gonna pick up the first one for Fireflans, and they're gonna keep going. Bento gonna go down to the Noxian Guillotine, but it will be traded back. A double kill over to Fireflans before he falls to lean with the binding under the turret.
But look at mid.
It's a deep push here from Akuma's Spikers on the mid, as well as they only had to invest the 3 into topside for that play. And whereas TMG Flash have 4, but
they're
now
still going.
Lean is just caught hanging around too long. Litaconic will fall. Chief will fall. Lean survives it, but now here comes Otto. Will Flash devour, and now it might be a little bit too deep. Fluke going to Killer Instinct up into the turret. That is a charged up turret, and here comes the Mundo. And just all around a huge scrappy play. All the meantime, Pumpkin taking a page out of Fluke's playbook and just ignoring the whole map and taking some of the standing gold.
Yeah, I mean, what can you say, right? Just play safe, right? Just stay under tower. When the enemy team is walking through your tier 3s while your tier 2s are still available. What in the world are you supposed to do if you're lean there, right? I mean, you're playing the Lux. You have even the extra health from a Leandries, but no matter what you do, there's just no way to get away from these tower dives. They are incessant. They are disgusting. They are offensive, but they are effective. Akuma Spikers right now, 17 kills to 15, but 8,000 gold up.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very, very well extended fight from Lean to pick up the double kill before getting taken down. But now a paranoia on the bot side, and Otto just going to pick up the one shot on the Pumpkin. Probably didn't even need the Nocturne there. With that Devour, has the Rocket Belt, an absolute classic, because as everyone knows, Cho'Gath is actually a control mage. So does have the Rocket Belt in inventory as well. And
I hate that you said that it's a control mage item, because you're so right nowadays.
We've seen it so much that it's just become the norm. I've given up trying to argue against it. We're gonna see Fluke pick
it up at this rate. Like,
yep, definitely more playmaking. Lord. Wait till Fireflans Rocket Belt ease someone, but it's gonna be a Dragon Secure
all I'm saying is that how are you supposed to deal with that? Like, how are you supposed to see that one coming?
Right? It would be the ultimate unexpected.
Exactly. I mean, you're up like what, 6,000, like 8,000 gold. how much is Rocket Belt? Like
It's like
3K? You're
I think it's even less.
even if
It
it's
might be even
yeah,
less, which is
yeah, even if
insane.
it's such a cheap item, but this Baron take is far from cheap. It is extremely costly for the side of TMG Flash. But Rocket Belt shenanigans aside, this is just calm, cool, and collected play from Akuma Spikers, especially for their 260 CS Kaisa.
Yeah. It's definitely becoming a obvious problem here. But we also see kind of a hybrid build coming out from Otto on this Cho'Gath. You see the Riftmaker and the Rocket Belt, of course, does provide quite a bit of AP, which Cho'Gath definitely isn't afraid to utilize, has a decent amount of scalings in the kit, but also the Deadman's in inventory as well as the Winged Stone Plate and the Negatron Cloak is likely going to build into a tank item
Force of
here. I'm
Nature.
not sure what item that actually will
Definitely
become.
Force of Nature.
Force of Nature would make sense when you look across. Like, it's pretty much only the Lux that can really contest. The Kane does have a long sustained fight against these tanks, but we saw
I mean,
earlier, Otto
I'm
just
gonna
has
be
enough
real
damage
with
to
you.
win that.
Right? I'm gonna be real with you. I think Otto doesn't care. It's just about the move speed. But here we go. It
Oh,
is the
explosive
Hextech
cask.
Ultimatum onto Pumpkin.
Pumpkin is going to get a double body slam here from Bento, but now the Paranoia going to come out and they're going to chase it down. The World Ender going to be popped here for Rainy. Is it going to be enough? Itakana comes flying in. Otto has to be careful, does get low, and it's a 4v5 on this top side as Pumpkin does fall early in the fight, but they're going to have to back it out here. Akuma does have to walk it off. They are going to reset and TP here from Otto. Going to try to overload for this bottom inhibitor. Bento trying to clear it out. Does get engaged on. Will almost get one shot. Chief chases really deep. The exhaust's going to come out. Eventually the Void Seeker will find it, but the final spark trades it back, and now it's another 1-for-1 in the base. Meanwhile, Fireflames is opening up the top side to open this triple inhibitor up from TMG Flash, trying to end this game early. First Nexus turret gonna fall. Rainy does dash forward. Itaconic is just mercilessly pushing forward here. Not important now. Going to get devoured, and that might just do it. Paranoia gonna come out. Secures another one onto the Kane here. Pumpkin gonna fall. Rainy and Lean trying to do what they can to survive. Fluke has to flash away from the final spark, and it is all for naught. The crazy shenanigans draft gives Akuma Spikers the 2-0 here in this pivotal playoff contention series.
Yeah, and Akuma Spikers fire off crazy draft after crazy draft. I said things might be burnt, but we were not talking about Akuma Spikers because this cooking has been beautiful. DPS in the mid lane, the full-on mages in the bot lane, the synergistic picks from every single member of Akuma Spikers. Extremely strong play back to back, and a lot of it coming off of these crazy coin flip plays very early in the game that just seem to turn heads every single time as Akuma Spikers take yet another head on their way to the top. Extremely good play from, I'd say, each and every member of the team of Akuma Spikers. Typhoon, if you were going to give a player of the game or a player of the series, anyone in particular stand out to you?
Excuse me. I mean, it's really hard to kind of pick someone, right? Like, we saw a lot of really strong early game influence from Itaconic on both Jarvan, even on a Nocturne, who typically wants to get to that 6 first, but we had a lot of stable laning from Fluke, a lot of stable laning from Otto. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to pick one, really, but I think I'd have to give it to Itaconic. Maybe that's jungler bias, but just made so many of these situations winning for the side of Akuma. I mean, they really pulled back that top lane matchup for the Darius early after falling down to a solo kill. I mean, really facilitated that mid lane and punished the flashless Victor in game 1 with the Jarvan. So I'm going to have to give it to Itaconic for sure.
I mean, I personally think that I would give it over to Fluke. I think Itaconic definitely did a phenomenal job. I think that these two can share the spotlight for at least a little bit, and I don't think that they really mind, because look at the way they were 2v2ing. Look at the way how they were playing throughout that game, but look at how unbelievably stable Fluke has been throughout these games. When the rest of the team is going with these crazy shenanigans, Fluke is putting out that DPS that stays safe, that stays available, that stays on top. And Akuma Spikers going to be reaching for that top once again after taking down TMG Flash 2-0. Now that does it for today's broadcast. Thank you, Typhoon, for joining me on the broadcast. I'm not sure if we're going to be seeing you anytime here anytime soon,
Yes.
but
I don't know.
I mean, it's been a wonderful time as we
It
have been
has.
able to. And thank you to Darth on the observing and Freelance on the production. But most of all, thank you to you at home for watching the broadcast. Tune in to the rest of the broadcast throughout the week. In the meantime, y'all take care and have a wonderful night.